My name is Chris Hill. In today's video, I'm going to go over some of the basics of stabilizers for Olympic recurve. There are several different configurations that you can have. Single front rod with back weight, top and bottom rods, V-bar with side rods that are straight back with a 6-inch or 3-inch or 2-inch extension to the V-bar attached to your bow and having angled side rods. But mostly the principles are going to be the same regardless of which of those configurations that you use. So we're going to start off with talking about the bow itself and the stabilization. So what you want for a good bow reaction is for the center of gravity to be somewhere in this area right in here. And what the stabilization and the weights and everything do is they give you a balanced draw, a steady aiming point, and then a controlled reaction after the shot. So the stabilization, the dampening is really for before, during, and after the shot. It's not just for that millisecond of the shot. All the physics say that it's better for the bow to move slightly forward and slightly down after the shot, and so that's why you want the kind of center of gravity to be right in here. So I'm going to show you how to find that out on your bow with the stabilizers and the weights that you've got on it. So basically what you want to do is just hold it where your dowel is that goes for your limbs, and then if you look at what a straight line to the floor would be, you'll see that that puts my center of gravity a little in front of where the grip is, going straight down. Now the second way to find the second point is you turn the bow upside down, and then you place your finger here and you balance it, and you see where that balance point is. And for my bow, again, it's about 3 inches in front of the bow grip. So I'm a little bit in front, and I'm a little bit down. That's going to be a very forgiving bow movement during and after the shot. The amount of weights that you use can help with steadying the sight aperture itself. It should hold fairly still. The bow at full draw should feel like it floats. That's the ultimate goal that you want. Now, there's been a lot of discussion on Archery Talk lately about the use of dampeners. I have the 5X0 dampeners on. It's a softer dampener. The less weight you have, the softer the dampener needs to be. The more weight you have, the stiffer it has to be. But basically you want the end result to be this. If I have to take the bow and hit it here, there's almost no movement from it. This is going to be a very dead shot. The bow is still going to jump forward, and it can, by using the weights, I can make it jump forward as aggressively or not aggressively as I want. But this is the amount of vibration that's going through my elbow, shoulder, arm, and body with each shot. Now, the difference of that is if I take off the rubber dampener on each, and you put just weights, we'll just go with some simple weights. It won't matter whether there's a lot of weights or not, the bow reaction is going to be the same. And I'll show you that, and this will make my point clear about the dampeners very quickly. So this is basically a compound setup that's being used on a recurve bow. It's just the rods and the weights. Compound limbs are very short. They don't have as much of a bow reaction to recurve limbs because of them. So this is what happens when you put just the rods and the weights. That is what's going to go through my arm, elbow, shoulder, every shot. Now, sometimes I have a new student, and so we have lighter poundage, like 20-pound limbs, and they can't really take a lot of weight, so they just have a long rod, and they'll have a stabilizer, maybe a little extension, and it's still the same here. Softer rubber. That's not as abusive or aggressive. Now, if I were to use a thicker dampener here, like something like this, as opposed to these, then I either have to have more weight out or it's going to stabilize less. What we don't want also is sometimes you'll get where the front rod moves like a diving board instead of the front wiggling. Let me take this off here to show that. See how that the whole rod is vibrating and moving. We don't want that. Having the dampener in between the weights lets the rubber oscillate in an opposite direction to stabilize and minimize that. So now, so you look at the stabilizer now, much better. Even though this is still quite a bit because we can't add the side rods with more of the dampening. But this is better for a beginner archer to shoot. Eventually you can experiment with, like for my setup, I have 3 weights on the front and I have 2 on the back. If I find that I needed to change that and I needed to go up in weight, then this dampener doesn't do as well with 4 weights on the end. I have to go up to a weight that is like this. This with 4 weights equals one of these with 3 weights. The difference in 6-inch, 5-inch, 4-inch extension, that just brings the weight in or out so that you can adjust so that the bow will float at full draw. So what works for somebody and their bow and their poundage may be a little different for you. You may find that you need 4 weights, and so you put 1 weight and then the dampener and then 3 weights, and then that gives you the reaction that you want. But you should have it so that the bow doesn't wonk up and down with the limbs like that after your shots. And then I'll put this back on so you can see the difference. But for a recurve bow, these are made to have a damper. And the less weight that you have on the actual stabilizers, the weaker the rubber. That's what's going to function best. I shoot the fiber bow stabilizers, but I could just as easily shoot the MK or the Gillo. They're all going to do good stabilization. They're all going to do good dampening if you use the rubber dampeners and experiment a little bit with the amount of weight. So again, here's my bow. This bow is set up right now for about 40 pounds, but it could be 50 pounds. I've shot 54 pounds. The bow is just this reaction in the front rod. You can see how the reaction is only at the tip where the rubber is. So this is where you want to start. Set the bow, set the stabilizers up. Have a couple of different style of rubber dampeners. It's worth it because you can buy them, and then the ones you don't use, you can sell to somebody else. Some of the people are always looking for dampeners to experiment with to find the right one for your bow setup and the right weight amounts as well. Sometimes the stabilizer too will dictate it. I used to shoot the carbon fuse blades, and they're a much heavier stabilizer than some of the ones I shoot now. So I had to have much more weight on the end to counterbalance. But the rubber dampeners on the fuse carbon blades is also stiffer. So the principle still worked. You find the right combination of the weights that would balance at full draw to float, but would also still dampen, and then you'll get a great bow with a great shot, and you can shoot hundreds of arrows multiple days a week, and you're not killing your elbow or your shoulder or your arm or absorbing those hits. All right? Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thank you.